Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again with Vince Walden. Vince, today I wanted to ask you about some of the exciting latest innovations from konaAI. What do you have for us?
Well, Tom, we're excited. We have done a complete revamp of our konaAI analytics platform. For those of you who have heard of us before and worked with us or seen the demos, we've done everything around analyzing the payments and transactions. So whether, again, of course, companies do their due diligence, but how much have you paid that high-risk vendor or third party? That's what konaAI focuses on from a bribery, corruption, and anti-fraud perspective. I'd like to take the opportunity to show you just some examples of how we're using both Agentic AI and some of the latest technologies to help fight fraud and demonstrate an effective compliance program that includes monitoring of transactions and high-risk vendors. And more importantly, give you a sense of all the different use cases that are now available. And I'm going to go through just a real quick list, Tom. I don't want to drive down into any one particular one too much for your audience because it's going to be real quick and fast on terms of the various categories. But I think your audience will appreciate the breadth of where you can use data analytics across your entire compliance agenda, where AI can be really useful. So with that, I'd like to take the opportunity to share my screen real quick and show your audience just a few of some of those examples. Is that okay?
Please do, Vince.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Here we go. I'm going to set up my screen, and hopefully you guys can see it now. But this is an example of almost $90 billion and where we see high-risk payments around the world. And we're able to run it through a series of hundreds of algorithms. So for in this example, I'm able to say, here's 273 types of tests around anomaly detection, corruption, conflicts of interest, high risk analysis, you name it, where we can select the tests and go into it and then take me into it. So I could do that for procure to pay. I can also look at employees' travel and entertainment expenses. Here I've got 111 tests specifically for that. And we go through it, and they're all pre-mapped to your company's ERP system, or if you're using Concur for your T&E, it's out of the box, plug and play. And when your data gets loaded, the dashboards and everything just light up. And then we can see, show me my highest risk geographies, and going into my highest risk transactions, you name it. Of all everything gets a risk score. So out of the 100,000 transactions, this one, Dongi gift store, $9 million, got the highest risk of 31.5, and I can go right into the receipt and right into the transaction. I can even use generative AI and ask anything I want around the chatbot because now it's all loaded in an LLM. So these are examples. I'm also going to give you some other examples, though, of various solutions that are out there. And this is where Agentic AI has been a big game changer. If you look for export controls, we've developed 9 agents around data classification, screening, shipping, document intelligence. Do I have the right license? And each of these has an investigative copilot that I can basically ask. If you look at the bottom right corner, I can ask it any question, explain rule RO5, what have you. And you're having to have a chatbot interface with each of the agents. So with the classification agent, it tells you what data it pulled from and the tests that it runs, you name it. Looking at culture, looking at your whistleblower hotline, which we can explore that later in a different show, Tom, but looking at all your whistleblower hotline and your company surveys, your investigations data to see where risks might be going on from an index perspective. Gifts and disclosure. A lot of internal auditors, we've automated a lot of the Sarbanes-Oxley tests, the SOX tests. For those lawyers out there who want to look at contracts and contract compliance, there's so much can be done around natural language processing. Here are contracts with the payment terms don't match the invoices, or we're seeing cost splitting, or here's wrong clauses are applied in various cases, or in purchasing the terms are expired or they're out of date. So there's all sorts of things we can do around contracts, segregation of duties, requesters, approver conflicts, procurement, bid rigging and collusion. Here's our high-risk bids. our collusion graphs where we see conflicts of areas or risks of collusion or price discrepancies where the contract price is higher than the winning bid. All these things can just be run as agents. So it's, you got your bid intake agent, your document intelligence agent. This is where we're using agentic AI to automate all these different things to solve problems. We look for price discrepancies. Tom, you heard me in a previous conversation. We just found $75 million of price discrepancies with one of our consumer products customers using the price monitor tool. Inventory and sales of slippage there. Healthcare billing and payers, whether you're a payer, which is the insurance company, or the provider, the hospital, you have different interfaces around, what's the billing codes and are those lining up? And in pharma, how are we interacting with speaker programs and healthcare professionals, gifts and entertainment? All these are set up with agents to constantly run the data. And finally, with banking, there's all sorts of tests around banking and branch operations, as well as retail. Tell me what store you're at. Are you a supermarket, a convenience store, a department store, what have you? There are various fraud and risk tests to look at those markets. So again, I'm covering so many things in so many different industries, but if your audience is in one of these things or is dealing with how am I working with agentic AI in my spec sector and how can I make my compliance department team more efficient with data, give us a call. We'd love to take you through some of these examples and details.
Well, Vince, unfortunately, we're at the end of our time, but I wanted to thank you again.
Thank you, Tom, for having me.